Hi, welcome to another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter, and this time I'm going to help you start your installation of the Plex Media Server on a Mac Mini, and that starts right now. There are several ways that you can do the Plex server. Initially, I just happened to have a Mac Mini that was not currently being tasked with anything. It had been part of my virtualization farm, but that project is done now. So I had it sitting there, and I thought, well, it's either I'm going to have to fire up a Windows machine or a Mac, and I've been seeing some really good prices on Mac Minis. Granted, they're used, but you can get started with one for $500, and I've seen this on Amazon. There's links to it in the show notes. So for $500, you've got a Mac Mini, which if you haven't seen one, I think I can get it over here because right now I've got it cabled in several ways. You just kind of don't want to really unplug it here. Let me take the camera off for just a second. And so you can see it's a fairly compact little device and ideal for this kind of use. So we're going to switch over to that screen and I'll walk you through the process. It's really very straightforward. I do have to disclose up front, Plex has been very helpful with this. They gave me the Plex Media Pass so that I could really show you all the features, and I've been working most of the day getting some other videos planned, and I think you'll really start to see the power of what Plex can do. So let's switch over to the other PC, and I'm going to switch him into a different screen because I can't walk and chew bubble gum at the same time, and it's already, okay, no, I don't want to connect to another system. Gotta love it when it's live. Okay, so I've already downloaded the Plex Media Server. And let me shift back over to here for just a second and bring up. Okay, for some reason it's decided. Okay, well, it is what it is, and we all know how live stuff is when it decides to work. Now, this is what will happen when you first download the zip file. It's gonna, I don't know why they do it this way, but they do. So you'll first run the Plex Media Server, and it'll take it just a few seconds here to figure out what's going on, and then you'll see it's verifying it. Then you'll say, yes, we want to open it. And this is the step that's important. We want to go ahead and move it to the applications folder. Now, I probably could have done this manually, but I didn't. So we'll just let this step complete. And we'll go ahead and close this screen. Actually, really don't need to leave that up and running. And see, now you see the little Plex icon at the top of the screen. So really, we're pretty much done at this point. It's going ahead and opening up the Plex screen. And this is where we'll first have to log in with the Plex account. And I'm going to shift back over here because we need to, okay, camera. All right, for some reason, there we go. It's decided it doesn't want to play nice for some reason. So I'm going to have to switch over here and I will log in with my credentials. And here we go. And it decided to, all right. No, I don't want to reset password. I want to sign in. Okay, so we'll go here and there we go. Now it's decided it wants to play nice. And a little bit of a lag here between systems, but as we all know, technology is great when it works. And then we'll click on sign in. And no, we'll tell it not to remember right now. Actually, it's where we can shift back over. So let's do this, and now we can get back into, actually, we'll go to, I've got it coming up two different ways here, and I apologize for this, folks. There we go. Now I've got a little more direct flow on what's going on. So no, this is the loviness when you're trying to remote in and show it. So we'll click on gotcha, or got it rather. And now it's already, this is the Plex site working. So I'm going to call this Studio because I actually have my production server up and running. And we'll just leave that box checked for right now where it talks about allowing accessing your media outside the home. That's a whole nother discussion. And, we'll just see. You will actually see when we go in here, and it's okay, organizing media. So by default, it's going to create, or it's going to see the photos and music. We'll actually add at some point a movies directory. That's going to be a little bit more down the road. So we'll go ahead and click next. And there's apps that you can get for your smartphone. It gives you some control, and it gets you where you can watch some things remotely. We'll just click done for now. And we'll go up here, and you see where it says Studio. If I click on the down arrow, it's actually going to show, I've got an NVIDIA Shield, which we're going to show that was where I started out, and I found out it was easier to learn how to set this up from the get-go. And so there's my production box, and I'll call it Studio because this is the one that we'll be kind of kicking the tires with. And so this really, we're up and going at this point. There's a couple of things that I want to walk you through changing because this is going to make things a little bit easier. And that's not where I wanted to go. Let me move this one screen out of the way because I'm not seeing what I'm looking for. Okay, I went the wrong way. So from your main screen with your Plex Media Server selected, oh, I'm going the wrong way. There are so many options that you can change with on this. So we're actually going to go up here. This is why I didn't have what I wanted. And we want to check open at login. I've got the Mac Mini set up to be a headless configuration. And that's tech speak for it doesn't need a keyboard or mouse attached. So that's great. So we've got it to where it will automatically start itself, and I've got the Mac set to automatically log in a designated user. And there's one other thing we'll want to go in and do here. That's going to open up the same screen. Okay, I've been working with this for a few weeks, and it still kind of gets me surprised every once in a while. We're going to click on Library. Now, these are the last two things I would suggest checking, and that's update library automatically and update my library periodically. And it's probably automatically is the main one to use, but I've got both of these checked on mine on my production box, because that way anytime I'm making changes, and we'll need to go make sure you click on save changes here. And it will say, okay, changes have been saved, so that's great. So now we can move back over to here, and I think we can go, all right, now we'll go to, I'm tapping the wrong button. That's why I've got a small keyboard switch off to the side where I can go between the cameras. That's my fault. But you can see it's really very straightforward. The whole process is, it took me, a couple of minutes to download it, and it will be maybe a little more or less depending on your connection. And I always have the file sitting out there that I installed from. And the beauty of it is there's so many things you can do with the Plex. I've really gotten spoiled in the past several weeks because I've had to make a few changes on mine. One of the big things I found, there was a lot of questions being answered on the forums about how do you get your media into there. Well, think of it just like it's a regular computer. Now, with the Mac, I've set up additional file sharing, which is normally for security reasons turned off. This way, I see the Mac just as another device on the network. So when I'm transcoding the movies that I've got, and I've got quite a few, so that's going to be many, many months to get those moved over, because different ones have to be transcoded or converted, is another way to say it, a little bit differently. I don't do any transcoding of media on my Plex server. I do it on a separate system, because that way, if I've got some live TV being recorded, and that's a whole nother conversation we're going to have. I've got a device from Silicon Dust that works beautifully with Plex, and I've been working with that today, getting some of the the tires kicked on that one and getting it where I really wanted to show it to you. You can have it really, it's going to be a true media server, because like you saw in my little chalkboard talk in the last video, you can record live TV. So now you've got your over-the-air DVR. So I've got it recording. There's a lot of the old-time shows that I love to watch and can watch again and again. So I've got it recording those. I've got all my slides for the past 10 years on there now, and I've got more that I've kind of had put to the side and hadn't done with. So that's getting on there. I'm working on moving my CD collection, my audio CDs, over to that, and that's going to be another video we're going to do. So you can really make this a center point of your network, and that's some of the things that I'm having real fun with, and I want to help take away some of the perceived difficulty, because Plex is very easy to set up. I'm initially going to show it to you on the Mac, but really once we get past a certain point, the web interface is going to be the same for the Windows version versus the Mac. So that once you get past the base platform, it's going to have a lot of similarities. Their directory structure will be slightly different. We're going to show that in coming videos, and I've got an Intel NUC with Windows 10 already on it that I'm going to put Plex on. So this is really, I would suggest you try to crawl before you walk. And what I'm saying that is one of the first things I did with it, and this is where I really started getting spoiled, is I hooked up the Silicon Dust 2-channel over-the-air tuner. And that gave me the ability to record either 2 stations at once or record 1 station with 1 live going on. So now this Plex media server is basically a center point to the network. So I can have it, I can watch the live television and not have to switch between inputs to get things to working. So I've got my Roku as my primary device, and that's something really, I didn't show that in this video, and I can if there's interest to walk you through it. But basically, you download the app for whatever streaming box you've got. You'll log into your Plex account, and you will then discover the different media servers you got, and you select which one you want to work with. And at that point, there's some chattering back and forth between them for it to know what is residing on that local media store. Now that we've got this base system up and running, well, the next thing we'll do is we'll go over setting up the live air tuner, and plus with that, when you get with DVR, and that's if you get the Plex Pass. If you don't, then some of this functionality isn't there. But from what I've seen, you can start out with a 3-month trial, which is like $19, or you can get 1 year, which is $40, or for a lifetime, it's $120. And there is, you just go directly to Plex to get that. They were great to work with me. I didn't ask for that, but they offered it up when they heard what I was trying to do, and I described to them everything that I had planned. So thank you, Plex, for helping me on this, because that helps me help others. I've got a list in the show notes of everything that they're going to be using. I've got a link to the Mac Minis I've been finding you. So if you don't have a PC at hand, that you have an option, because what you have to think about is when the Mac or whatever you're using for your media server, it may have to do some transcoding when you're talking to something other than a television. If you're going to play something on, say, your smartphone, your tablet, okay, it's going to have to transcode, or it's going to have to convert the video to a format that phone or that smart device can handle. So you don't want to take Plex and put it on an old slow machine that you've had for 5 or 6 years, because you're probably not going to be happy with it. And I've already found some cases when I was kind of overtaxing mine a little bit, but I was also pushing it. I was trying to upload several videos. I had a live stream going on, and I was recording. Well, at that point, I think it was more it was a bandwidth issue, because I changed out my network switch, and that made a big difference. I haven't had some of the pixelization or artifacts, the little, EDB squares showing up on screen. So that is something that I learned how to get past, and we'll be going over this in detail. So any questions you got with Plex, if I haven't gone through it yet, I will put that as something I need to get to, because I want to help you enjoy this as much as I have, because so far it's been great. The one limitation I've run up with, and this is not any fault of Silicon Dust, I went with the 2-channel tuner. Well, I didn't think I'd be using it that much, so I didn't want to buy the 4-channel one, which was a little bit more. Well, I started running into cases to where both tuners were in use, or I wanted to schedule a third recording and I didn't catch that I already had that time slot tied up with both tuners. So I had to go buy a second tuner. But with Plex, the beauty thing is they understand how to work with multiple tuners. I went with the Silicon Dust one simply because, and I'm getting off the reservation here a little bit, but I'm going to come back around. I like theirs because it didn't use as much of the resources on the machine, where if you take the ones that plug in USB, my concern there is there was going to be stuff that I had to do with loading additional programs that I don't have to load anything on my Plex media server to talk to the Silicon Dust tuners. It just simply works. The native support, so you can't ask for any better than that. And it also supports multiple tuners, because I bought a second tuner and it came in, which I've got a little tip for you in the next video when we go to set up the Silicon Dust tuner on how you can save a little bit of money. And I'm not going to make any money out of it, but I'm more concerned about you saving some money if you're trying to keep things on a very tight budget. So thank you for your time. This is, you've seen the basic setup. So this is just to get it up and running. And I'm just trying to do this in little chunks so that you can kind of get a feel for it. I'll be showing how to set up the on-the-air tuner in the next video. And there's a whole other video I've already had to start planning today to show you how to deal with the antennas, because you're going to have some sort of antenna if you don't have cable to feed the tuner with, so that you can get good signals. And there's a whole, it's been a very much of a learning process. I learned a few things when I was going through this, because I just thought an antenna was an antenna, and it's not. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Thank you for your time. We will see you again in a future video, and we'll keep forward to building your Plex media server, and then we'll start showing how to incorporate it with Alexa, and I found a way where you can get Google Assistant to talk to it. So there's quite a few things that can be done. So we're moving one step at a time. Well, thank you for your time, and we'll see you again.